I'm getting so tired. I'm getting so.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Breaker. Welcome to the show, y'all. Now look, Cole is in the hole after he tried to choke out his Celley, and now he's laying in the bunk crying about his situation because his next door neighbor is talking crazy to him. But that's what happens on Max. Ain't no love over there, y'all. When you go to the hole, ain't no love. For real. Everybody's pissed off at being there. Some people been in there for years. They just crazy. Jaded, don't care nothing about nobody, and that's who he's dealing with. His next door neighbor is somebody that don't care nothing about none of that. He been in there for a while. He crying about, you know what I'm saying, getting 6 years. His next door neighbor can't understand that because his next door neighbor got 40 of them. 40 years. He ain't going nowhere for a while. So he ain't got no understanding, no comprehension of somebody that got 6 years and crying about it. He can't even relate to the human aspect of it. This is his daddy that's gone and he's responsible for it. Dude into 40 don't see none of that. All he see is the number of years that you got to do, and that's what you should be focused on and nothing else. And that's what happens to a lot of people when they come in here, y'all. They focus on the wrong stuff. But anyway, let me get back to the story. So while Cole is doing this time in the hole, he gets visited by one of the counselors. And they come by and talk to him. They let him know how many days in the hole he's got to do. He got to do 10 days in the hole before they put him back out in the general park. And he's trying to understand what that means. He's asking, well, am I going to have to go back to the cell that I was in? And they told him, no, absolutely not. You wouldn't even be on the same side of the prison compound as that individual no more. That's what they told him, right? So he said, good. And the counselor, he asked me, he said, man, tell me what happened. And he said, all I remember is that I was brushing my teeth and then he pushed me. That's it. Well, the counselor told him, he said, your Celley told us that you spit in the sink. And when you spit in the sink, he got mad, he got up, and then you choked him. He was like, he pushed me. And the counselor said, so this whole thing was about you spitting in the sink. And the counselor told him, he said, I need you to understand something. In here, you got a different set of rules than out there. And those rules work in here, but they wouldn't work out there. But while you're here, you need to try to follow the rules in here so that you'll be okay and you'll be safe. You won't have to worry about your well-being, you know? So Cole's listening to him because he doesn't know what else to do. He's trying to understand the lunacy that's going on in here and what he needs to do to be able to make it through this experience. So the counselor comes by and talks to him every day that he's in the hole, explaining different things to him, answering questions that Cole may have about what's going on in prison and how he should navigate the environment. And the counselor, he's been working in the system for about 15 years, so he tells him how to get along with the other inmates, respect their space, see and don't see, things that the counselor knows that take place in prison but can't endorse. But he's trying to help this young man out. And he's telling Cole all the things that pretty much his old Celley told him, but Cole couldn't hear. Now he's listening. He wants to be able to make it when he gets back out. He don't want to be back in the hole. So his 10 days come and go, and it's time to let him out. So they tell him they're going to put him in a cell with this guy named Matt. Matt's been locked up going on 18 years now. About 18 years. And when Matt came to prison, he was a young guy. He was a young guy. And he had gotten into a fight with somebody, assaulted him real bad. And it resulted in him getting 30 years. And they felt like that this would be a good match for Cole, a good Celley for him to have, because Matt was calm. He had accepted responsibility for what he had done. And he might be able to help Cole navigate the environment and make it through this experience without getting more time or causing more trouble for himself than he needed. So when he gets to the cell, the counselor is waiting on him. And he introduces Matt and Cole to each other. And when Matt hears Cole's last name, which is Bradley, he wonders aloud. Well, he wonders not aloud, but he wonders to himself, could this be? And he looked at the young man, and he saw a vague resemblance to a person that he knew a long time ago, but it couldn't be. Because he had blocked so many people out of his mind, out of his life, because since he had been in prison, that it was hard for him to remember things, but he saw similarities that were sparking memories in his head. So when he introduced himself to Cole, he told him, you know what I'm saying, where he was from and all this and that, and you know how much time he had and all of that type of stuff. And he assured him that he wouldn't have the same type of problems that he had in the other cell. But he did tell him, you know, there are some rules that we have to go by. And after the counselor finished introducing him, he walked away. So Matt and Cole, they talked. And as they were moving Cole's stuff into the cell, they continued to talk, and they had a laugh here or there, whatever, about, you know, the circumstances that led to them being Celleys. And he told Cole, he said, well, I hope I never have to get into it with you, because I heard that you got a pretty strong grip. And they both thought that was funny. And then they ended up getting all of his stuff situated. So after he got all the stuff in the cell, Matt told him that he was going to step out for a while and let him get himself together, you know, and make up his bed and do all of those types of things, right? And because it was bunk beds, and Matt was on the bottom and Cole was going to be on the top, you know? So he stepped out of the cell, and while he was out of the cell, Cole was making up his bed and he was trying to get acclimated. And for the first time in a long time, he felt this sense of not peace, but that he could relax a little bit. He wasn't as tense as he had been since the accident, you know? And Matt, he's on the outside of the cell. He's walking laps in the pod. And he's thinking to himself, could this be? It cannot be. He's like, this wouldn't happen like this. And he started to think about Eve. See, a long, long time ago, when he was in high school, Eve was his girlfriend. Eve was his girlfriend. And there's no way that this could be her son. No way. It's no way. He looked like her, but his last name, it's not Eves. That's the guy that Matt assaulted. Yeah, that's the guy that Matt assaulted. His name was, and Matt was thinking, he's snapping his finger, he's thinking his name. And he said it, Randy Bradley. That was his name. See, after you've been in the penitentiary for a while, you try to block everything out. But in the back recesses of your mind, you always remember certain situations and things. It might be vague to you. So, you know, a lot of times you will refer back to your paperwork and you look at it and be like, yeah, and then it all comes back. But it all came back to Matt this day. He said his name was Randy Bradley. And he had been involved in a cheating with Eve. And Matt caught him. And he snapped out. And he beat Randy, just beat him. And they arrested him and charged him with attempted murder. And put him away for 30 some odd years. But this couldn't be. There's no way that this could be Eve's son. Because see, he had fallen out of contact, trying to keep up with what was going on, all of that. So he didn't know if she had gotten married. He didn't know if she had just had a son. He didn't know any of that. He didn't want to know anything about it. Didn't want to have nothing to do with neither one of them. He had moved on, but it was something about the way this boy looked that resembled her. He didn't know how to ask him. He didn't know how to ask him. So he decided not to say one word about it. Not one word. So when he goes back into the cell, he pretends that none of the things that he had just been thinking were true. No way, no how. So him and Matt get to kicking it and talking. He asked Matt, you know what I'm saying, did he like to eat certain things? What did he not like to eat? Because he was about to cook. You know, Cole didn't have any. He didn't have any food at all, but Matt had a lot. He had a lot of stuff, and he wanted to know, you know what I'm saying, did he mind eating with him? And Cole was a little apprehensive because the counselor had told him, you know what I'm saying, be careful of who you associate with like that because people end up tricking you and you're in debt and next thing you know, things happen. So he told him, he said, nah, he was good. And Matt told him, said, look, you ain't got to worry about that with me. I see you ain't got nothing on your shelf to eat. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm finna make some burritos. I just want to know what you eat and what you don't eat. And then we're going to break bread. You know what I'm saying? It's good. You don't owe me nothing. I got plenty of food. You see that? So Cole reluctantly said, okay, man, it's cool, whatever. He said, but man, I got to call home real quick and talk to my moms. He was like, oh, okay. He said, yeah, go on and call the house, man. Let your people know how everything is and whatnot. And, you know, let them know, you know, you got a different Celley now. Don't be calling the warden on me and all this and that, right? And they laughed and joked about it. But Cole told him, he said, no, ain't nothing like that, man. He said, man, I believe my mom would like you, man. You a straight dude. He said, oh, that's good, man. I hope to meet her one day. He said, well, maybe you will. I don't know. Cole goes and gets on the phone, calls his mom. He's talking to his mom, and he tells his mom that, you know, he's out of the hole now. Told her the circumstances surrounding why he went to the hole because he wasn't able to tell himself. She had called up there and the warden and had told her. So now, he said, I'm in the cell with somebody else. And his mom said, well, how is it? What type of person is it? And he tells her everything about Matt but his name. He didn't see the need to tell his mom what his seller's name was. He didn't see the need at all. And think about it. You know, why would you? You know? She don't know nobody in there. You know what I'm saying? As you would think. Now keep in mind, you understand what I'm saying? Why would you tell somebody on the streets your seller's name? He's Celley. But some people do, I get it. As if they would know them or whatever, or you want them to get to know them. They might not ever see them other than in visit or something like that, right? So he didn't even mention his seller's name to his mom. So she said, well, tell him that, you know what I'm saying, I appreciate him and to look out for you and all this and that. And he said, I will. And she said, I got a letter on the way. She said, I didn't know when you were going to get out of the hole, so I was writing you so that you will have something to do and read while you were in the hole, but I guess you'll get it now that you're out. Everything will be working out. And she said, I'll be up there to see you as soon as they get the visitation forms approved and all of that. They still haven't gotten them approved. So Cole told her thank you, and he loved her. And she told him she put some money on his books and all that kind of stuff. She's learning how to do all that right. And he could hear in her voice she was still stressed. And he told his mom, he said, Mom, I'm sorry. And she said, sorry for what, baby? She said, I'm sorry for what I did that night to Dad. And she went silent for a minute and she said, baby, you didn't mean to do that. And your dad wouldn't want you to feel the way you're feeling now. We're going to do this together. You're going to come home and then we're going to move on. She said, promise me that. And he said, I promise, Mom. I'm going to move on. I'm going to honor Dad when I get out and be the best electrician that he's ever seen. Because I know he's watching me. And she cried and she told him, she said that she believed everything that he just said and everything would be okay. So they said their I love yous and got off the phone, and Cole went back to the cell, and Matt was just about to finish fixing all the wraps and whatnot. He asked him what type of soda did he like, and he told him he liked Coke, you know what I'm saying, Coca-Cola and all that there. And but Matt, you know, Matt liked Pepsis, so he gave Cole a Coke and he took him a Pepsi, put it on ice, and told him as soon as the meal is done, they would break bread and sit down and chill. And you know, at that time, Cole didn't even have a TV to watch, so Matt took his TV and set it on the stand to where Cole could see it from the top bunk, you know, the angle that he's going to be up there, so both of them could watch the TV, you know. And he told Cole, anytime I'm not in here, you can watch the TV anytime you want to, listen to my radio, whatever you want to do. He said, just make yourself at home as best you can, you know. And Cole really appreciated that. And he said, man, you're not like a lot of people that I heard about in here. You know, I heard at the county jail what it was going to be like, and you're not like that at all. So Matt told him, he said, man, well, it's not that many people in here like me, man. He said, one thing about me, you know, when I first came in years ago, I accepted responsibility for what I did. I was wrong for what I did, and I decided that I'm not going to be like everybody else in here. And Cole was listening to him, you know, because this is the first decent conversation that he had since, you know, he came to jail, from jail and prison. And he told him, he said, man, and that's what you're going to have to do. If you want to make it through this and maintain your sanity. And he said, how many years you got? I heard you just got 6. That's what the counselor, he's like, yes. He said, yeah, I just got 6. He said, look, it's a long time, but it's not. He said, I got 30 plus. He said, you'll be out of here way before me. And when you get out of here, you want to have some sense. You want to be able to go on with your life. He said, what do you want to do with your life? And Cole started to tell him about, you know, what he had done. He had just graduated from trade school, and he was about to become an electrician, working in part of the union with his dad. And Matt said, oh, that's a good trade to be in, electrician. You're going to always need that. And he said, I know. My dad taught me everything that I know. And he said, well, tell me about your dad, man. And that's when Cole got quiet. He didn't know how to bring that up like that, you know, because he felt as though eventually it was going to lead to him having to tell Matt about his dad being dead and him being responsible for it. But see, Matt was quick on his feet. He noticed that Cole really didn't want to talk about it. He said, man, you know what? We could talk about that another time. Yeah. You know? He said, man, here you go. I'll give you half of these. He gave him 6 burritos. He said, you can eat some, eat them now, eat half today, half tomorrow, whatever. It's up to you. Whatever you don't eat, wrap them up in this plastic, and we can put them in the cooler and it'll stay fresh for you. You know what I'm saying? Heat them up in the microwave. So Cole took 3, wrapped the other 3 up, put them in the cooler, saved them for tomorrow, and he ate, and they were good. They were good. Had the noodles in it, had the chicken, had some roast beef, you know what I'm saying? Had some Fritos that were crunched up in it with the special sauce, you know, that he made. And it ain't no special sauce other than, you know, you take some mayonnaise, and then you take a little sugar, you know, and then you take a lemonade and put the lemonade in it, mix it up, put a little cheese in it, and then you got you this creamy, tangy, you know what I'm saying, cheesy type cream that you can spread on the burrito when you wrap it up. And when that thing melts and spreads throughout that burrito, oh my God, you talking about something, ooh, fire. You hear me? Fire. But anyway, Matt is eating, and he's complimenting, Cole is eating, and he's complimenting Matt about how good it tastes and all this and that, right? He's like, appreciated all this and that, right? He said, what you want to look at? So they turned on the TV. He said, it don't even matter. And it wasn't long before Matt had fallen asleep. He hadn't had any good rest at all. It's all been 100 miles and running. And he fell asleep, and Matt, he stood up and he looked at him, and he saw Cole laying up there asleep, half a burrito still in his hand, the other one that was uneaten because he had 3. Cole reached and took that, got the bowl, took the half one out of his hand, wrapped both of them up, the 1.5 up, and put them in the cooler because he knew he would need it tomorrow. And he laid on his bunk and he watched TV. But while he was watching TV, he kept thinking, could this be Eve's son? And he just, ain't no way. So he stood there, he got up, he stood up and he stood there and he started watching, he just looking at him. And the more he looked at him, the more he started to resemble Eve. But he didn't know if his mind was playing tricks on him or what. But he was like, this cannot be. So, well, you know what? You're going to have to tune in to the next episode, right? To hear what else I got to say about this and how this story continues to roll out, right? I tell you, it's going to get better. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.